Woohoo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9 The News and Talk of Bloomington Normal. We are going to get to Governor J.B. Pritzker. He's catching a lot of flack for referencing Nazis when he was criticizing President Donald Trump. This rhetoric, you'll hear the left and the Democrats, they'll say, oh, Republicans, they are extremists and, their rhetoric is dangerous. I don't see that. Okay, actually, it's the Democrats whose rhetoric continues to be dangerous. They continue to call President Donald Trump a Nazi. And this is just Governor J.B. Pritzker. I think he's going to run in 2028. It's embarrassing, the budget deficit. And I don't think that he's going to make a run. He's not going to go for re-election for governor. I've talked about Aaron Del Mar. He has teased that he's going to be running for governor on the Republican side of things. And he suspects that Governor J.B. Pritzker is not going to be running in 2026. 2026 is the gubernatorial race. But in 2028, he's going to run. And I think that he's going to, use this budget deficit as a way out. And, he's just... He needs out because this budget deficit is bad. The people of Illinois, people are leaving in droves. I mean, so I don't think that he's running for governor. I think that, the Nazi thing, he's going to be running against President Donald Trump. And this is his platform, that Donald Trump is a Nazi and that he should win the presidency in 2028. Okay, so the last part of Governor J.B. Pritzker's speech on Wednesday, this was the State of the State address, included references to Nazis 6 times, that's according to the Center Square, as he discussed the election of Trump and to the White House. Okay, so he discussed the election of Trump, how he's a Nazi, referenced Nazis like 6 times in this speech. And we're going to get to parts of that speech here in just a second, but I do also want to tell you what else we're talking about today. So you've got this to look forward to. Kathy Hochul, she is threatening to remove the mayor of New York, that's Eric Adams, from office for the crime of working with the federal law enforcement and Donald Trump on deportations. Oh, I don't know. Following federal immigration law. Okay, so she wants to remove him from office for that. This is serious stuff because you have a governor talking about removing a sitting elected official and then appointing somebody. This is tyrannical. That's quite literally the definition of a tyrant, somebody who removes elected officials because they don't like how they're cooperating with federal law enforcement. So this is a big deal, Kathy Hochul. I also want to get to this trans athlete. He's big, mad, upset that men are being stripped of the medals that they stole from women because that's not progressivism, I guess. Something's crazy about that story. It's just insane. This smug loser reporter attempted to question Donald Trump on, DOGE and Elon Musk, and good for Donald Trump. He brought the receipts. It's so refreshing to have somebody in the White House that is, quick and quippy and can bring the receipts, bring the facts. President Joe Biden, I mean, he was prepared in the sense that he was probably given the questions ahead of time. So he was prepared in a way, but he always stumbled through it, managed to stumble through it, although he was given the questions and the answers ahead of time. But this is really great to see a president of the United States just whip out the receipts with DOGE. And I'm going to talk about Social Security because it's now revealed that the data, Social Security data that's been entered, apparently there's, we don't know if the dollars are going towards these people, but there are people on the Social Security database who should be dead. Okay, so there's people within the age ranges of 140 to 149 years old, and there's millions of people who are registered for Social Security, possibly getting money from your tax dollars, who aren't alive. Okay, there's no way there's people who are alive at 140 years old. So DOGE is exposing this. I think it's amazing politically, from a political perspective, because this gives Donald Trump some time. The more DOGE comes out with, the more they reveal how your taxpayer dollars are being spent. This kind of buys him time to get everything under control put more money in taxpayers' pockets and cut back on spending, okay, and to, get his budget together, Donald Trump. So politically speaking, I think this is genius to have DOGE coming out, constantly revealing all of the crazy things that your taxpayer dollars have been spent on, including dead people on the Social Security database, like on their rolls. Okay, so you've got Social Security. We're going to pay these people Social Security, and they're between the ages of 140 and 149. Like, that's ridiculous. There's no way that those people aren't dead. So we're going to get to all of that here in just a second, but let's talk about Governor J.B. Pritzker. Look, folks, I'll say it. If anybody is going to call anybody a Nazi, it would be Governor J.B. Pritzker. And I am hesitant to say that because I really don't want to fuel the stupid rhetoric. Although there is facts, and I will present those here in just a second, to make that claim that Governor J.B. Pritzker is like a Nazi. I won't say he is a Nazi. He does Nazi-like things, okay, with his money. Okay, or at least his family does. The Pritzker family does Nazi-like things and promotes the violence against Jews on campuses, on college campuses everywhere. Okay, and I'm going to get you the receipts here in just a second. But I want to play this clip. It's a compilation. Center Square has it, where some of the clips are from the state address, but we also have Republicans saying that, hey, this is dangerous rhetoric. To call Trump and Republicans Nazis is dangerous political grandstanding and will only incite violence. And this is violence that he's allegedly condemned in the past, political violence. He's condemning political violence, but what he's doing here by calling Republicans and Trump Nazis, and 5 minutes of his budget address was dedicated to the history of Nazi Germany and the parallels he said he sees with the new Trump administration. Okay. Like I said, if anybody's going to call somebody a Nazi, Governor J.B. Pritzker is definitely, I would say, the top 5 politicians who do Nazi-like things with their money. At least his family does. Let me correct myself. The Pritzker family, whom, who J.B. Pritzker should, I don't know, have a talking to. He should tell them, hey, let's stop spending money on the Adala Justice Project, who is on college campuses getting arrested for the violence against Jewish people. Okay, so he's dedicated through all kinds of back channeling and moving money around, money to the Adala Justice Project. And the Adala Justice Project, just go look them up on Instagram. They shout things. They have children. I'll never forget those. There's a video out there of small babies, like 4 or 5 years old. They're holding a banner. It says, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." Which, I mean, when you're saying that, you're saying, like, from the river to the sea, that's calling for the annihilation of all the Jewish people, or the Jewish state of Israel. Okay, so take a listen to this clip. Here we go. This is a compilation of Governor J.B. Pritzker and Republicans reacting to Governor J.B. Pritzker's references to the word Nazi in his speech multiple times here.
Sounding the alarm too soon? Consider this. It took the Nazis 1 month, 3 weeks, 2 days, 8 hours, and 40 minutes to dismantle a constitutional republic. And all I'm saying is that when the 5-alarm fire starts to burn, every good person better be ready to man a post with a bucket of water if you want to stop it from raging out of control.
That rhetoric is out of place and need not to be talked and spoken in the General Assembly. It was completely wrong.
Address Governor Pritzker's juvenile attacks directed at President Trump. Parts of Governor's own party want to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. And to call Trump and Republicans Nazis is dangerous political grandstanding and will only incite the violence he claims to condemn. But this is about J.B. Pritzker's misguided aspirations to be the next president.
You mentioned Nazis 6 times. You didn't mention Madigan once. A couple of questions.
Yes, I did. You were not listening.
Not by name. You referenced it. Wasn't in the
I said the former speaker. I think everybody understands.
2 questions.
Yes.
One, what about ethics in Illinois? 2, How is it not an insult to have the American public voting for Trump when you're talking about Trump being a Nazi?
Those words never came out of my mouth. That is not true, what you just said. Here is what I will say. I think it was important to talk about the destruction of a constitutional republic. I gave my own experience with it, and I think something that's actually unique to Illinois, the most famous case that went to the Supreme Court around an issue like the challenge of Nazis in America or in the world. And so I talked about that. I mean, we had a whole Holocaust museum that was built because of that. I feel very passionately that we always need to be on guard about the future of our democracy. And there was a lot of discussion about it in the 2024 campaign. I never thought that that was something that the voters would pay lots of close attention to, because people don't know what that means when, what does it mean to say that democracy is challenged? There are some people who understand, many people don't. What they do understand is that prices are going up. They do understand that their livelihoods are challenged, and they were promised certain things that are now not being delivered upon. And indeed, they're getting worse because of the policies of the Trump administration. So I was just trying to bring all those things together to address what I think is a gathering storm in this country, and to recognize that what happened in in Europe in the the last century is something that could happen really anywhere in the world.
But what do you say to those who would be? What do you say to those who would be insulted?
Okay, so that was a little bit longer of a clip, but it was important. Now I'm going to bring you the receipts here, folks, okay? To claim that Donald Trump is a Nazi is just totally disingenuous. And really, when you look at Governor J.B. Pritzker's family, they support the violence against Jews because that's where their money goes, okay? So there was a Rolling Stones article, or there was a Politico article that talked about this, and Rolling Stone, they came out and they refuted facts. I mean, I guess in the Politico article. So the Lieber Foundation is a Pritzker family charitable organization that shares their grantees on their website. Now, the Lieber Foundation board is made up of only Pritzkers. In the Rolling Stone article that kind of refuted Politico's article that came out, it was a report that detailed the Pritzker family's financial contributions through the Lieber Foundations to groups that have been setting up encampments across college campuses around the country. I don't think I have to go into detail what happens with these groups. They'll go and they'll set up encampments, and then they terrorize Jewish students on campus to the point where they lock themselves in campus libraries and board up the doors so that way these pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas, just anti-Jewish people or these anti-Jewish activists, they board themselves up in libraries to avoid violence. So that's what's going on in college campuses everywhere. So there was a Politico report that detailed the family's financial contributions. They talked about the Lieber Foundation. And, Pritzker at the time, he says when the Politico article came out, he says at the time, he goes, it's completely false. Go read the Rolling Stones article, which debunks all of the Politico article. Now, the Rolling Stones article does debunk this. The Lieber Foundation does disclose where the Tides Foundation donations go, where its Tide Foundations go, and none of them went to this Adala Justice Project. Okay, this is a radical, just look them up on Instagram. This is a radical group, calls for the annihilations of Jews. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. That's calling for the annihilation of Israel, the Jewish state. It's a pro-Palestinian organization. And here's the thing that the Rolling Stones article didn't dismiss, okay? They didn't dismiss the fact that Susan Pritzker serves on the Solidarity Network board as the chair. Now, on the Solidarity Network website, they display, Adala Justice Project is a movement partner. So the Solidarity Unity and Power Fund moves money to the front lines. So this is Solidarity Network. They have a power fund, a Unity and Power Fund, and then they move that money to the front lines of, quote, anti-war and racial justice organizing, according to the network's website. That's what it says. So what's going on here is you've got the Solidaire Network. Susan Pritzker is the woman who controls the money on that board. Okay. Susan Pritzker is a family member of Governor J.B. Pritzker. And they're moving money to the Adala Justice Project, which is an anti-Semitic group. Okay, so the Pritzker-backed Tides Foundation is fiscally supporting, okay, and like I said, the Tides Foundation is backed by Governor J.B. or by the Pritzker's family, J.B. Pritzker's family, and it's also backed by George Soros, the Tides Foundation, okay? Now, they are fiscally supporting the Adala Justice Project according to the Tide Foundation's website. Okay, so, and, you know, the Adala Justice Project, like I said, you guys can go check them out on by yourselves. They're on Instagram, but one thing that I'll bring up about the Adala Justice Project is the executive director, Sandra Tamari, okay, and her husband, Steve Tamari. He's a Southern Illinois Edwardsville history professor, okay. They were recently arrested. They were arrested, you know, at the peak of these encampments. These front lines being funded by the Solidaire Network, okay, whom Susan Pritzker sits on the board, okay. If he wants to come out and condemn Nazism, anti-Semitism, what he needs to do is call out his own family member. Now, I forget their relation exactly. I think it's by marriage, Susan Pritzker, but he needs to call out his own family members for Nazi-like behavior. I won't even call them Nazis, but this is Nazi-like behavior in the sense that they're funding people to go out onto these campuses and hurt people. So like I said, this executive director of the Adala Justice Project and her husband, they were arrested at Washington University while supporting a Gaza encampment, okay? These campus protests, they've surged across the country. They've died down a little bit now, but look, we have a problem with anti-Semitism and actual Nazism, but they'll point a finger at President Donald Trump, and he hasn't done anything like this, moving money to the front lines of these encampments for these people to go in and smash things with hammers, okay, and to terrify Jewish students to a point where they're locking themselves in their libraries and barricading the door so that way these anti-Semitic activists don't hurt them, okay? So, I mean, to come out and say, oh, Donald Trump is a Nazi, it's very disingenuous, and really, you got to take a look in the mirror and make sure that your crew, Governor J.B. Pritzker, Susan Pritzker, understands what she's doing as her role, in her role as the Solidaire Network Board treasurer. Okay, so she's moving this money to this fund, the Solidaire Unity Power Fund, that equips the Adala Justice Project to hurt Jewish students. So it's wrong to say that that Donald Trump. Take a long look in the mirror, JB. Just take a long look. All right, I got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. We'll be right back. Hey, good morning. Go ahead and smash that like button. Share this out with your friends. Governor J.B. Pritzker said Nazis are invading America and something about magic beans. His whole speech, like 5 minutes of it was dedicated to this whole Nazi thing, and it's deliberate. He's running for 2028, the presidency in 2028. There's no way that he could have a successful gubernatorial run, being that this budget deficit, I mean, he had one last year. He's got a bigger one this year. The state is in financial chaos. Actually, I found out, what was it the other day? There's this group. It's called ICER. Now, this is the Illinois Coalition of Immigration. I'll look it up. It's all of these nonprofits. They've got like huge names. Okay, so it's the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights. Okay, this is ICER. If you simply go to the comptroller's website and you type in their EIN, their employment identification number, you will see installment after installment after installment, up to $74 million. Just, I believe, in 2024. Let me get my facts right here. Has been allocated to this organization. Okay, now this organization we know is dedicated to illegal immigrants and their rights. When they say immigrant and refugee rights, that's not at all what they're about. Okay, in fact, I will go. This is the ACLU website, the Roger Baldwin ACLU website. Actually, the ACLU, I think it's the ACLU website. Oh, they might have taken it down. Oh, wow. That's hilarious. Oh, no, they've got it here. Okay, so on the ACLU website, they've got a hotline to ICER, this group. It's the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights Hotline. And you have to report ICE activity in your community to this hotline. And ACLU is promoting this for ICER on their website. And this organization reporting ICE activity. So this is all about aiding and abetting illegal immigration. It's not about refugees. It's not about immigrant status. It's not about your legal status. This is about evading law enforcement, federal law enforcement, this group, okay? And they're helping immigrants do that through their nonprofit organization, okay? Called ICER, the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, okay? Now, ICER has received installments, and you can find this on the comptroller's website. Just in 2024, 2025, they're getting over $74 million. Okay. Now, these are installments. They're paid as a vendor by the Illinois comptroller. So $74 million. And the reason why I bring this up this morning is, this isn't a budget line item. This is just like, I don't know, I'd have to look into the installments here, but they're probably from the Department of Human Services, if I had to guess. These are grants given to this nonprofit organization. And really, it's your tax dollars going to illegal immigrants and working to evade ICE and federal authorities and deportation, okay? So that's what this organization does. They, are claiming that, illegal immigrants have rights here in this country after they've broken federal immigration law. That's not true. Much like, a pedophile or a murderer doesn't have rights, you would say, after committing heinous crimes, okay? These are crimes. These are federal crimes, much like federal crime, other federal crimes, like a felony, okay? You can have felony drug convictions, things like that. When you break laws in this country, you no longer have rights, okay? And just like these convicts, okay, convicts, I don't even believe they get to vote. Yeah, I don't know, they don't get to own firearms, we know that, but they give up their rights after they've committed crimes against the country and against, individuals in this country. Okay, so ICER, they're claiming that these illegal immigrants have rights, although they've broken federal immigration law, and they're obtaining taxpayer dollars to the tune of, like I said, 24 to 2025, some installments, $74 million. Okay, now that's just a couple of years, and we are facing a budget deficit. Okay, so that $74 million could have not gone to this nonprofit organization, and we could have put that towards the budget deficit. Unfortunately, they don't know how to deal with your taxpayer dollars efficiently and effectively. Rather than giving it to illegal immigrants to figure out how to evade federal deportation, giving it to them for legal services and vehicles, probably vans, whatever ICER is giving the illegal immigrants with this money. It's unnecessary to provide ICER with that much money, $74 million. Okay, that's insane. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. You can go ahead and find me on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, and you can subscribe to the channel. We've got so much to get to today. I do want to start with Kathy Hochul. Yes, earlier I was talking about Governor J.B. Pritzker. He's catching some flack for referencing Nazis while criticizing President Donald Trump in his speech. Like I said, he's doing some political grandstanding. He's running in 2028. Why? Because we're facing a budget deficit again for the, I don't know how many years. There's been at least two I know of consecutive years where we dealt with a budget deficit. And they're going to say it's a revenue problem. They're going to try to get as much revenue as possible. But they won't talk about the spending, okay? And I was talking about spending earlier. ICER, which is the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, they are, how do I say this, pros in evading ICE activity, evading federal authorities, or getting immigrants to evade or avoid federal authorities or deportation. Okay, so they have a hotline where you can report ICE activity in your community. The Illinois Coalition of Immigrant and Refugee Rights Hotline. Call it to report ICE activity in your community, i.e., that means evading federal authorities. And avoiding deportation, and they specialize in that field. Okay, getting illegals to avoid deportation. Okay, so you can look this up to the tune of $74 million. That's just installments that are paid to them, and these are receipts on the comptroller's database, where you can see. They've been paid up to the tune of $74 million over that from 2024, 2025, just, a handful of payments. So who knows how much they've received over the last 10 years, 5 years. But we're facing a budget deficit right now. And I can't help but feel, had we not spent $74 million on an organization that specializes in evading federal law enforcement and getting, federal criminals to avoid deportation and avoid consequences, legal consequences, much like, a pedophile, a murderer. And I'm not saying, I mean, people don't understand illegal entry into this country is a very, very big deal. Because we have so many different avenues for you to obtain a temporary legal status, at least. Okay, we have naturalization. So don't believe the left when they tell you that immigration is hard. I know plenty of people who have temporary legal status. Most people at Rivian, most people in manufacturing plants, engineers, they're here on H-1Bs, they're here on work visas, student visas. There's a plethora of options for people to come to this country with a temporary legal status, at least. And, the people who come through illegally, they don't go through those avenues for a reason. They're the worst of the worst. They can't pass a background check. That's why they go through an illegal port of entry. And I don't understand why that's so hard to comprehend. But ICER, this organization who's received $74 million of taxpayer funds, they're specialized in helping people, not face the consequences of their actions by entering the country illegally. Okay, they have a hotline dedicated to snitch on ICE activity. Okay, they've got a snitch line to rat out ICE activity in your community, and they're actively going against federal law enforcement and trying to stop and prohibit law enforcement from doing their job by setting up this hotline. And we are funding it with our taxpayer dollars. And, I wouldn't even be all that peeved off about it if we weren't in a budget deficit. That money could be dedicated to this budget deficit and we could be financially sound in the state. Unfortunately, that's not how things go. We're doing this despite not being in the financial place to do it. So that brings me to Kathy Hochul. Let's get to her because this is probably the biggest story of today. New York Governor Kathy Hochul believes it's the moral thing at the very moment to remove an elected mayor of the largest city by population solely because he's representing American citizens over foreign nationals. And not only is that, the basic duties of his job, like working with federal law enforcement and protecting American citizens from criminals who enter this country illegally through an illegal port of entry. That's like the basic fundamentals of his job. But he all he's doing is just trying to follow federal immigration law. Okay, he doesn't want to be a criminal either. He wants to aid the federal immigration authorities, and he doesn't want to be a criminal because that's aiding, that's safe, that's harboring illegal activity, and he doesn't want to, get that thrown back on him, right? We are seeing, Pam Bondi going after sanctuary cities and states. He probably doesn't want to be sued for his illegal activity. Okay, Kathy Hochul is also being, I think, in her personal capacity, being sued for harboring illegal aliens by Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. So Hochul is not somebody who wants to obey the rule of law, and she would rather override the will of the people. This is a big deal. Removing an elected official when you're, this is like authoritarian rule. Okay, and if anybody is going to be called a fascist, it's not Donald Trump, it's the people who remove elected officials. Okay, this is a threat to democracy. This is destroying our constitutional republic. It doesn't make any sense. But of course, Hochul is not somebody who lives by logic, reason, morality, anything like that. So this is according to the National Review. Governor Kathy Hochul said that she's considering removing New York City Mayor Eric Adams from office after 4 deputy mayors resigned over the Justice Department's decision to dismiss corruption charges. Okay, so 4 deputy mayors, so people under Eric Adams, they resigned after the Justice Department decided not to go forward with corruption charges against Eric Adams. Okay, so I guess he was facing corruption charges. Now, allegedly, the Department of Justice said, in exchange for us dropping the corruption charges, you have to cooperate with immigration enforcement. Now, there is no proof that that is happening or that happened with the DOJ, Donald Trump's DOJ. Last week, acting U.S. Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove ordered Manhattan prosecutors to drop their federal case against Eric Adams. The Justice Department then moved to dismiss the criminal charges in a motion, which U.S. District Judge Dale Ho has yet to approve. Okay, so the charges have been dismissed, but they're dropping their federal case, okay, against Adams, the DOJ. Adams gave U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement access to New York's prison, Rikers Island, okay, sparking allegations of, quote, quid pro quo between himself and the Trump administration that led to his case being dropped. Okay, so that's what the left is saying. And Kathy Hochul, they're saying that because Eric Adams' charges were dropped, Adams is giving access of Rikers Island to the Trump administration for deportations. Now, Adams and the border czar, Tom Homan, have denied these allegations. They said that there was no quid pro quo. We didn't, drop the charges in exchange. He had to cooperate with us. None of that happened. There's no evidence to suggest his decision to cooperate with the federal officials had anything to do with quid pro quo. He's doing his job, okay, working with the federal immigration authorities. Now, what's really crazy about this is we're talking about Rikers Island. Okay, they're going after the worst of the worst. Okay, Rikers Island is a prison, and Tom Homan wants access to this prison to deport illegal aliens who are clogging up our prison. And he wants to deport those individuals who not only entered the country illegally, but also committed crimes on top of those crimes. Okay, so Hochul admitted that she wants to remove him from office, and she did say that it would be overturning the will of the voters. She said that, quote, okay, but in the same breath, she admitted that she could care less. Take a listen to this, quote, in 235 years, in New York State history, these powers have never been utilized. Okay, so 200 years. This is very unprecedented. Removing a duly elected mayor, overturning the will of the voters, is a serious step that should not be taken lightly. That said, the alleged conduct at City Hall that has been reported over the past couple of weeks is troubling and cannot be ignored. That's what Kathy Hochul said. So she really could care less that this is such a big deal, but she's going to do it anyway because it's troubling. But they don't have any proof that this happened. The quid pro quo or whatever, that all drop the corruption charges against you, Adam, if you cooperate with federal immigration authorities. I don't even know if you could really call that quid pro quo because that's just asking him to do his job. But anyway, tomorrow, this is what she says. I have asked key leaders. Now, this was a couple of days ago, so they've probably already met to meet me at my Manhattan office for a conversation about a path forward with the goal of ensuring the stability of the city of New York. So if she wants stability for the people of New York City, okay, let Eric Adams do his job. But she doesn't want Eric Adams to do his job because guess what? The left thrives off people's chaos and destruction. They love it. They would love to see nothing more than illegal immigrants terrorize communities, okay? So that's why she doesn't want Eric Adams to do his job. When we're talking about Rikers Island here, this is the worst of the worst. And he's giving Tom Homan access to a prison, okay? It's not like he said, go into the school and deport the children. He said, go into Rikers Island. These people have already committed crimes on top of entering the country illegally. So the fact that we're talking about a prison here speaks volumes. These people could care less about you. The federal officials are currently using all their resources for the scummiest members of societies, the worst people in society. So Hochul has made it clear that despite the rule of law, she will do everything in her power to override the will of the people. Okay, so I mean, this is insane. She is trying to remove a sitting mayor, a duly elected mayor. Now that is tyrannical. All right, I'm back in just a moment. Hey, good morning. So do appreciate you. Good morning. Good morning. We're about to have a heat wave today, high of 22. Yeah. If reducing the size of the federal government is fascist, sign me up. Yeah, I know. They don't even know what the word fascist is. What Kathy Hochul is doing, that's fascism. Okay, that's straight up fascism. With Eric Adams, where you start removing people who are elected. Okay. President Donald Trump has made Council of Governors, Glenn Youngkin, Chair Josh Stein, North Carolina, Ron DeSantis, Brian Kemp, Jeff Landry, Wes Moore, Gretchen Whitmer, Kathy Hochul, Josh Shapiro, Henry McMaster, a bipartisan group of state leaders tasked with strengthening state and federal relationships on key national security disaster. That's interesting. I don't agree with that. I mean, there's plenty of things that Donald Trump has done that I don't agree with. I'm actually going to get to some of that here this morning. There was a question when he was asked about Ukraine, and I didn't completely agree with them. And I know we're supposed to be loyal to Trump and just go along with it and say, yes, I love Donald Trump on everything. And I mean, his answer wasn't terrible, but it was kind of weak. I think that he needs to be tough on Ukraine, and he was tough on Ukraine in this answer, but I think he needs to be equally tough on Russia. After all, they're kind of the ones who started the war. And his answer was just kind of milquetoast. I don't really like that. Kathy Hochul, as I just said, a bipartisan group of state leaders tasked with strengthening state and federal partnerships. This woman is so anti-federal government at this point because Donald Trump is the leader of the federal government, and we have a Republican majority in the federal government. She's so anti-federal law enforcement, she could give a damn about national security. Okay, she's so anti national security and federal law enforcement that she's willing to exercise her powers to remove an elected official, and this hasn't been done in over 200 years, okay? I would not have put Gretchen Whitmer, Kathy Hochul, anybody on this, but I mean, I know what Donald Trump is doing. He's trying to, reach the other side of the aisle, which he's actually being very successful in, might I add. So I've also got this poll this morning, CNN, they've actually come out and talked about how more Democrats are going to the right, and actually Donald Trump's approval ratings are going up amongst the Democrat Party. So I think they're up like +6 from 2021. So his approval rating is better than Joe Biden's was in 2021. Okay, amongst Democrats. Well, not better, but he's, I don't know how to explain it. So let me look this up. The numbers. If I show you the numbers, you'll get it. But he's gaining more favorability amongst Democrats. Okay, and CNN was completely flabbergasted by this, by the way. But he, I guess, is underwater with the independents. But overall net positive approval rating. Donald Trump has broken the mold by remaking the electorate form from +6 Democrats in 2021 to +2 GOP now. Okay, so I've got this clip here. Let me just play this here for you. You'll get a kick out of it. This is CNN, and it's so funny to kind of watch how flabbergasted they are about this whole approval rating. Here we go. I'm going to try to get this going for you. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. We are going to be right back in just a moment, talking a little bit about a trans activist as well, who is big mad. Okay, here we go.
What is going on here? Well, Donald Trump is doing his best Frank Sinatra interpretation or impersonation, going my way. Okay, Trump's net approval rating overall, look at this. He's at +3 points. He's been above water. He's been above water his entire second term, excuse me. Look among independents, though. He's way underwater. He's way underwater. He's at -10 points. Normally, you win independents, therefore you win the middle. But in fact, Trump is doing the exact opposite. He is winning overall, but losing among independents. And this looks an awful bit like what happened in the fall election, where, of course, Kamala Harris won among independents, but Donald Trump won overall. Trump is repeating this playbook, breaking history, doing poorly with independents, but doing considerably better than he did in term number 1, overall being above water.
Okay, so what is the reason for this, that he's posting basically overall he's up, but you're seeing this, and what's the reason?
This makes no sense, you might think,
No.
but what's going on here? Well, first off, what's going on here is, remember in term 1, there was all that big opposition of Donald.
All right. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and Doc of Bloomington Normal. We just got this in the text line. This is big news. Donald Trump has made appointments to the Council of Governors, Glenn Youngkin, Josh Stein, Ron DeSantis, Brian Kemp, Jeff Landry, Wes Moore, Gretchen Whitmer, Kathy Hochul, Josh Shapiro, Henry McMaster of South Carolina. So this is a bipartisan group of state leaders tasked with strengthening state and federal partnerships on key national security, disaster response, and military coordination issues. Now, we talked about Kathy Hochul. I don't really agree with this. Now, I see what Donald Trump might be doing here, maybe keeping his friends close, but his enemies closer, having Kathy Hochul working on this. I just told you, after over 200 years, like, this hasn't been done where you remove an elected official. This is pretty tyrannical. But Donald Trump, he's keeping his enemies close, but he's also trying to gain favorability amongst the Democrats, which no other president has really done it quite like President Donald Trump. And I was just playing a clip here for those on the stream. CNN is completely flabbergasted because Donald Trump continues to beat the standards the legacy media has made for him. And he's doing exactly what he's promised the people to do. And he is keeping a positive approval rating, and the media is completely confused by this, but it's kind of they're shocked because their propaganda isn't working, and the people aren't buying into their propaganda, and people are actually approving President Donald Trump, and he's got a positive approval rating. So this is CNN data reporter Henry Enton. And he reported that the GOP has changed the electorate, with the GOP behind him at 84 net approval points. And the Dems are against him by a -78 points. But take a listen to this clip here. Here we go.
What is going on here? Well, Donald Trump is doing his best Frank Sinatra interpretation or impersonation, going my way. Okay, Trump's net approval rating overall, look at this. He's at plus 3 points. He's been above water. He's been above water his entire second term, excuse me. Look among independents, though. He's way underwater. He's way underwater. He's at minus 10 points. Normally, you win independents, therefore you win the middle. But in fact, Trump is doing the exact opposite. He is winning overall, but losing among independents. And this looks an awful bit like what happened in the fall election, where, of course, Kamala Harris won among independents, but Donald Trump won overall. Trump is repeating this playbook, breaking history, doing poorly with independents, but doing considerably better than he did in term number one, overall being above water.
Okay, so what is the reason for this? That he's posting basically overall, he's up, but you're seeing this, and what's the reason?
This makes no sense, you might think, but what's going on here? Well, first off, what's going on here is, remember in term one, there was all that big opposition of Donald Trump. Democrats hated him. Well, right now, Trump's net approval rating among Democrats is underwater, way underwater at minus 78 points. But the Trump base is consolidated behind the Republican president to an extent that we really did not necessarily see in term number one. Look at this. His net approval rating is plus 84 points. So more Republicans are behind Donald Trump than Democrats are opposed to Donald Trump, and that is lifting him up and giving him that positive net approval rating, despite the fact that he's losing among Democrats and losing among independents.
So are there other groups in this that are making this, different? I mean, independents, Democrats, Republicans, isn't that everybody?
Yeah, that is everybody. But it's not just the margins that you post among these groups. It's what percentage of the electorate that they make up. And Donald Trump and the Republican Party has changed the electorate. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look at party identification, Democrats versus Republicans. You go back to 2017, 5 points more of the electorate was Democrats than Republicans. You go to 2021, when Joe Biden was starting out, look at that. 6 points more of the electorate was Democrats than Republicans. But look at what's happened in February of 2025. Look at this. Republicans, there are more Republicans in the electorate than there are Democrats. Republican plus 2. So Donald Trump and the Republicans have remade the electorate. They've turned some people over from being Democrats or independents to become Republicans. New folks have entered the electorate who are more Republican leaning. And so when you combine that with the fact that Republicans are really, really behind Donald Trump, all of a sudden you get a winning recipe whereby you break the normal rules of politics and give Donald Trump that positive net approval rating when he had pretty much a consistently negative one in term number one. As I said at the beginning, he's copying Frank Sinatra, doing it my way.
I just want to remark.
Okay, so that's a huge clip. Turns out whatever DOGE is doing, they should keep doing it, right? Because it's working. Donald Trump is, of course, behind with, at least according to CNN. Now, take that with a grain of salt. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. He's behind 10 with the independent voters. He continues to make history here, though, because more Dems, as this guy had said, are coming over to the GOP side. Okay, the electorate, it's made up of more Republicans now in 2025. And in comparison to February 2021, it was plus 6 Democrats. Okay, so the electorate was mainly Democrats, but now there's been a shift. So people have switched over from being Democrat to Republican. And this move with this governor's council, I think it's a way for him to pull more people over to the Republican side, see things my way, and maybe this, this bipartisan, he's trying to be more bipartisan because I think he's got this knack, Donald Trump, to pull Democrats over to the GOP side. So this is really interesting. This poll, I got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat. Okay. Go ahead, smash that like button, share this. Yeah, independents are really lefties. Yeah, they're probably even further left, a lot of those independents. But I take it with a grain of salt. I mean, it's CNN, right, David? It's CNN. Like, they're going to say that he's behind with independents, but, is he really? I don't know. But I really do believe in, this number where they've got, and I think it's even more maybe than plus 2 GOP, where you see this on your screen here, where it says plus 2 GOP is the electorate makeup. It's probably way more than that. because it's reflective in my own life. Okay, I'm seeing more and more Democrats come, especially when it comes to the union guys, the union membership Teamsters. They didn't endorse anybody this go around, this last presidential election, which is huge. That was not on my bingo card. Now they should have, according to their membership, 60. I think there was internal polling from the membership, and they all wanted Donald Trump. So that should have, led to the endorsement of Donald Trump, but the leadership didn't listen to the membership. But you've got Democrats, traditional blue dog Democrats, and these are your union guys who have voted Democrat, but they've changed and they've switched over to the GOP. And, Donald Trump he's doing something that I don't think he did in his first term, which was, reaching across the aisle, but doing it his way. He's not compromising. I'm not a big fan of this because Kathy Hochul is Kathy Hochul, but I think he's playing, some 4D chess. He's wanting to get his enemies on his side. If I can get my enemy to agree with me, that's true power. So then maybe that's what Donald Trump is doing here. He's done it with the electorate. Now he's probably trying to focus his energies on, state leadership and trying to get these individuals behind him because, he's crossing party. Like, this is huge that you've got Democrats switching over like this, and CNN is completely flabbergasted by it as well. And I'm shocked that CNN is even admitting this. Republicans are currently up 2 points of the electorate, and there are more GOP voters in the electorate. This means more people have switched from the left to the right, not the other way around. So he's trying to get maybe not them to switch their party or their party affiliation, but he's trying to get the Kathy Hochuls and the Gretchen Whitmers on his side. And he thinks that, creating this bipartisan team might get them to see things his way when it comes to federal immigration, national security. So yeah, it's probably safe to say that Trump is doing far better than that even. This is coming from a network, by the way, CNN, abysmal ratings. They claim that GOP is up 2 points in the electorate, but we can almost be certain that it's far greater than that. 70% of voters claim that Trump is doing what he said he would do, and that's according to CBS. So I'm back. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. So I do appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning, man. I derailed a little bit. There was some news that came in about this bipartisan group of governors. I did a bit on Kathy Hochul. She's doing something that nobody's done in like 200 plus years, which is to remove a sitting, duly elected mayor. Because he's following federal immigration laws. She's claiming that quid pro quo happened with the DOJ because they dropped the corruption charges. I don't even know if you can really say that happened because he's just doing his job. He's giving permission to Tom Homan and federal immigration authorities to go into Rikers Island. So we're talking about Rikers Island here. These are the worst of the worst, like the worst members of society. And it's really unfortunate that you've got Kathy Hochul, because he's doing his job and allowing Tom Homan to go into this prison and deport people who not only on top of the illegal entry crime, but also committed other probably very heinous crimes there on Rikers Island. She's removing him and undoing the will of the people who elected Eric Adams to be mayor. Okay, so that's really, really tyrannical. Now, he put her on this council, but I think he's playing a little bit of 4D chess here, okay? Because as I just told you, the numbers here, they don't lie. More people are switching from left to right, and I think that he's really trying to poll positively amongst Democrats and get Democrats to see it his way. Union members specifically, I think the membership at least, they're seeing it Donald Trump's way, and they're switching from traditional Democrat to Republican. Not that he's trying to get Kathy Hochul to switch over to Republican, but just to get his enemies to maybe agree with them a little bit, on, important issues like national security. According to a CBS poll, 70% of voters claim that Trump is doing what he said he would do. Okay, so that's another huge poll here. So it's unclear why they're surprised. I mean, he won the popular vote. He's been honest about what he wanted to do. He's doing it. and Americans voted for him. He won the popular vote. So, Trump won, and the sooner the left accepts this and the sooner that they realize that Trump is actually a very likable president and that he has a positive approval rating, and that's not me saying it, that's CNN. And the sooner they realize this and accept that he won and that he's doing what he said, the better they're off they're going to be. I'm going to be back in just a minute. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Viva! Cat scratch fever. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Go ahead, smash that like button and share this out with your friends. We're going to come right back, and I want to talk maybe about this transgender individual, transgender athlete. I want to get to that. Man, we've got so much. This loser reporter attempted to question President Donald Trump on Elon Musk and DOGE, and he totally got taken down, this smug reporter, by Donald Trump because he brought the receipts. This is about Social Security, the database here. I guess you could call it the database. It's where they have individuals in the age brackets of like 140 to 149, like millions of people are considered like in this database, set to receive funds. We don't know if they received it, Social Security checks, okay, from taxpayers, but they're 140 to 149 years old, so likely they're dead. We don't know if they're receiving funds, but this is an abuse of government to not be cleaning up your rolls here of who's receiving Social Security benefits. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that, but you guys are really going to like this clip. CC Telfer, this is a transgender runner, like an athlete. Now, I can call him a failing male athlete, okay? He tries to explain that males who win awards in the female division cannot be stripped of their medals because that's not how the direction of progressivism should work. And this was on CNN. They, interviewed CC Telfer is his name. So disgusting. He is like practically begging here for the Trump administration to hear him out, actually calling on Donald Trump to sit down and talk with him about allowing men to steal women's medals, okay, women medals, women who compete in the female division, and he wants men to be able to compete for those same medals in the female division. So I've got this clip. You're going to be just flabbergasted by this. Here we go. Yeah, we're gonna play this. Here we go.
I wonder how you react though when you read that the Department of Education has written a letter to the NCAA suggesting that transgender women who have won titles and set records, they should be stripped.
If somebody's truly working or a part of the Department of Education, they would be smart and educated enough to know that something like that that's not how history works, and that's not how the direction of progressiveness works. And you can't take back history.
I wonder how you react though when you read that the Department.
Okay, so there's that clip, and we're going to be talking about this guy. Chad, glad you're here this morning. I'm actually going to bring up. Sup, everyone. Yeah, we're going to bring up your commission hearing today. The ethics commission hearing, I believe, is today at 11 o'clock. And we're going to bring up your own ethical issues. Keith Hunt. Sorry, not Kevin. Keith Hunt. He's the attorney of Elizabeth Johnson, who is, the respondent here to the complainant, Chad Burke. So this is the McLean County Ethics Commission. Can you see my cat? Here he is. Look at that. There he is. Now, fun fact about this cat, guys. He's always coming up on my lap here. Fun fact about this cat. He was almost illegal in the state of Illinois. So you guys can't see, but he's got like little tufts on his ears here. He is part Savannah cat. So a Savannah cat, it's like a large cat. He's like a H4 breed or something like that. I didn't get him like that. Like, I just found him. He's a stray. Strays are the best, by the way. He's just so precious. But he's like eating me, my headphones. But he was a stray, and I didn't know that he was like part Savannah until I took him to the vet one day, and the vet was like, "Yeah, no, he's really interesting." He's like, He hisses all of the time, but like purrs at the same time. So like he's like a really moody cat. But the Savannah cats, what they do, they hiss to communicate, and like it doesn't come from a place like a normal cat where it's like a like an emotion, like they emotional, like they emote that way with through hissing. Savannahs, they just hiss, and that's their way of communicating. So yeah, really interesting cat, but he was almost illegal in the state of Illinois. It was wild. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. So do appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning. We're going to get to this trans athlete here in just a second. His name is CC Telfer. He was on CNN, and, you know, I refer to him and all trans men athletes as failing male athletes who want to win in female divisions because they can't win in their own divisions. And he's saying, and he explains here, that males who win an award in a female division cannot be stripped of their medals because that's not how the direction of progressivism works. Yes, he said this on CNN, and he's actually talking about how he wants to sit down with President Donald Trump to talk about, you know, and have a human conversation with me. He says, you know, I'm willing to sit down with the IOC, the USATF, the NCAA, and international federation, and any of my international federations, even the Trump administration, Trump himself, if he wants to sit down and have a conversation with me, a human conversation, and see me, I'd be willing to, you know, explain to him why men should be winning, you know, female division medals, by the way. So, and he talks about, you know, how they shouldn't be eradicated from society. Trans men or trans athletes shouldn't be eradicated from society. And I just, you know, hang on, let me check really quick all of Trump's speeches ever. Yep, he has never said once that he wants to eradicate trans people from society. So we're going to get to that story here in just a second. I also want to get to Donald Trump shooting down this smug reporter. This is huge news this morning. Social Security database, I guess you could call it that. It's the, I'll call it the rolls, I guess. So people who are eligible to receive Social Security, they've got individuals on there who claim to be 140 years old, 149 years old. Like, that's impossible. Okay. I don't know about you, but I don't know any 149 years olds. Now, it hasn't been confirmed that 100, like these millions of people who are 140 years old that are on the Social Security rolls, it hasn't been confirmed that they've received taxpayer benefits or Social Security benefits, taxpayer funded benefits. It hasn't been confirmed, but it's still really embarrassing that we have these people on the Social Security database. Like, could they potentially be getting money? Yes, because they're on the roll to receive that money. Have they gotten it? Well, DOGE is figuring that out. Donald Trump brought the receipts to the smug reporter at this press conference who questioned him about DOGE and Elon Musk. So we're going to get to that as well. Really quick, I want to bring this up. Chad Burke, it's I believe the McLean County Ethics Commission, they're going to be meeting today, holding a hearing. The respondent in this is Elizabeth Johnson. She's the McLean County Board Chair. This has to do with the ethics complaint launched by Chad Burke. He's the former McLean County Board candidate, where there was donation solicitation going on. According to Trevor Sierra's email, it happened on multiple occasions where Cassie Taylor and Elizabeth Johnson, they were going around asking individuals for donations on government property, on government time, allegedly asking for these donations for the PAC that was established to support a referendum to remove or to eliminate the position of the county auditor. Okay, so this commission, this ethics commission, is going to hear this out. Now, of course, Elizabeth Johnson attorney, Keith Hunt, which I'm going to get to here in just a second, because he has also got some ethical questions. He was suspended, for a period of time because of fraud concerning client fees. Yes, this is factual stuff. Okay, so this guy is representing, I mean, how wild is that? You've got a guy who has had his own ethical issues and was suspended because of those ethical issues. Suspension. So here's the suspension for a specific period reflects, and I think it happened around like 2006. This attorney, Keith Hunt, was suspended. Suspension for this specific period reflects a determination that the lawyer has engaged in misconduct and that the misconduct warrants an interruption of the lawyer's authority to practice law during the suspension period, which is a fixed period of time identified by the Supreme Court's order. The lawyer is not authorized to practice law during this period of suspension. So, I mean, has been suspended before because of, client fees and fraud concerning those client fees. So he was actually suspended for ethical issues. Okay. Client fees and fraud and things like that. That's a big deal. And this guy is the guy that's representing Elizabeth Johnson, who's supposed to be defending herself against ethical violations. Okay. So not probably the best choice of attorney. Lizzie, I'm sorry. Yikes. You've got this guy who's been suspended in the past for fraud concerning client fees. Yikes. And this guy is going to be representing you in this complaint about your ethical conduct in collecting donations that it can't be collected according to state statute and everything. But I guess this violated. So what the Ethics Commission is going to do this morning, I believe it's going to be even at 11 a.m. I got to double check the time on that. But they're going to look and see if it violated the McLean County Ethics Code. So we know about the state code, the elections code, that talks about public funds being used to promote either a referendum or a political candidate. Okay, it'd be like, for example, and I just am using this as an example, hypothetically say, she was going around and collecting donations on behalf of the Trump campaign, okay, on government property during government time. Okay, that would be a big no-no. Okay, you can't do that according to state law. Okay, now they're going to get to the bottom of this whether it violated the McLean County Ethics Code, which talks about, government officials not participating in, electioneering during government time on government property, these types of activities. So that's going to happen today. It's going to be interesting to find out the results of that. Now, the attorney here, Keith Hunt, who has his own ethical issues, like I said, from 2006, where he was suspended for a period of time due to fraud concerning his client fees. Yikes! That's embarrassing. Not the best choice. Not the best choice to have somebody represent you who has his own ethical violations. Okay, there's thousands of attorneys out there, and this is the guy. This is the guy you have. But he's trying to quash. He's made a motion to quash the complaint or to dismiss the complaint. He says, that Chad is essentially doing this because he unsuccessfully challenged the respondent Johnston in November of 2024 for an election seat on county board. He, has made a motion to dismiss and quash a subpoena, I guess. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. And that's all taking place at 11. Okay, quash the subpoena. Yeah. He's made a motion to do that, and I believe that he also made a motion to dismiss just entirely. He made a motion to delay. They delayed it, this commission hearing, all the way to today. So this is going to be interesting. It's about to go down. And, what's important here is just note that the guy that's representing the county chair right now for ethical violations has his own ethical misconduct in years past. Okay, so that's the key takeaway from this. All right, let's get to the transgender individual. Okay, the transgender athlete. He's big mad because men are being stripped of the medals that they stole from women, and he wants to change that, and he wants to sit down with Donald Trump and talk about how he shouldn't eradicate trans people from society. Take a listen.
Department of Education has written a letter to the NCAA suggesting that transgender women who have won titles and set records, they should be stripped.
If somebody's truly working or a part of the Department of Education, they would be smart and educated enough to know that something like that is not, that's not how history works, and that's not how the direction of progressiveness works. And you can't take back history.
I wonder how you react though when you read.
So there you have it. He says, that's not how progressivism works. You can't, take the medals away from men who are competing against women in female divisions. They can't be stripped of these medals because that's how progressivism works, or the direction. That's not how the direction of progressivism works. Okay, whatever. I think that, he proceeds to insult people by claiming that they're not smart enough for not blindly following this stupid narrative or whatever he defines as history, right? Or progressivism. And he's calling you stupid for not following his narrative. Look, folks, he proved nothing here. There was no point. He thinks he proved his lack of a point by, this minor insult of calling you not smart. For blindly following his narrative. According to the Post-Millennial, the C.C. Telfer, he won the NCAA Division II 400-meter hurdles. This guy is a runner, previously competed as a male at Franklin Pierce University. Tefler had hoped to compete in the Olympics, but World Athletics, the international governing body for track and field, voted in 2023 to ban biological males from competing against women if they transitioned after Tanner stage 2 or the age of 12, whichever came last. So, there's periods of time where you've gone through puberty and you've developed biological advantages over women. I think that you have a biological advantage. Even if you transitioned prior to the age of 12, you're going to have a biological advantage just because men are always taller. They've got longer legs. And, it doesn't matter if you block your puberty and if you transition at the age of 12, you're still going to have genetic DNA, and you're going to inherit certain attributes that put you ahead of women, okay, no matter what age you transition at, by the way. But the World Athletics, the international governing body, back in 2023, they banned biological males from competing in women's sports who transitioned after the age of 12, and that included him. So this C.C. Tefler guy. So he claimed that each of my identities is a target because in America at this moment, because I'm Black, I'm a woman, and I'm transgender. Gosh, you are not competing in any Olympics, obviously, because the World Athletics said you couldn't. But you are competing in the Olympics of how much can I be a victim? Okay, the oppression Olympics is what you're a pro at. I'm woman, I'm Black, I'm transgender. Like, this is just insane. So he says, I feel like a lot of anti-trans rhetoric has become louder, more in my face. Prior to this set in stone administration, I used to wake up every day and I'd face adversities when I would leave my house. But now I wake up every day and it's hard to stay alive. It's hard to make sure I make it home alive when I leave my house every day. Like I said, that is totally, I've said this from day one. That is a disingenuous lie. Look at the numbers. Look at the receipts. Okay. There are 30 homicides amongst the transgender community a year, by the way. Last year, I think it was like 30 homicides. And then when you break those down even further, those homicides are not like people going out and finding transgender people because they're transgender and killing them because they're transgender. A lot of this is like drug related, prostitution related deaths, where pimps like kill their transgender prostitutes. That's what goes on with these 30 homicides. Okay. Now take into consideration there's like a million or so transgender individuals, and only 30 of them died in 1 year. In fact, I would say that that's it's sad if anybody dies, but considering, when you look at the Black community, okay, they're actually dying at a far larger rate. And, you're upset about this, but really what's going on is the suicide rate is what you should be looking at. Nobody's going out and killing you. That's what I just don't understand about this. And like, nobody's eradicating you. So this guy, he says that he's willing to sit down with IOC, USATF, the NCAA, in any of my international federations, even the Trump administration or Trump himself, if he wants to sit down and talk to me and have a human conversation and see me. He says, I need some explanation as to why you want to completely eradicate us from society. We've done nothing wrong. Okay. I've checked every single Trump speech. Trump has not said he wants to eradicate transgender people. Okay. He said this, he goes, think about the humanity and to think about the younger kids like me who have doctors confirming their gender, have people behind them. And even if he wants to have a team to go around with me to see my day-to-day life. Yeah, okay, Trump is going to dedicate, our taxpayer dollars to follow you around and to see what you do on a day-to-day basis. No, thank you. Okay, but he says, even if Trump wants somebody to follow me around on a day-to-day life and see what I have to go through as a transgender female athlete, I'm all for it. Like I said, Trump has never said that he wants to eradicate transgender people. The difference between refusing to condone insanity and eradication is very, very big. Like there's a big difference here. Okay, he's refusing to condone insanity. There are two genders. Even the transgender ideology, you're either a man or a woman. Okay, so he says that he's a woman. So he has to believe that there are two genders because there's no other genders that exist. Their whole ideology is actually proof that there's only two genders because you're not trying to be something other than a man or woman when you're trans. You're either a woman trying to be a man or you're a man trying to be a woman. So all Trump did was sign an executive order that we recognize two genders. You don't get to be a man one day or a woman next day. And he's just not condoning insanity. That doesn't mean that he wants to eradicate you. Okay, that just means he's not going to play these word games that there are multiple genders. Trump is making things better, and we're going back to the days where this trans army didn't change the status quo of language, didn't change what we have known for throughout all of history, that sex is not changeable. You can't change it. And it's about time that the federal government realizes or recognizes that we can't change sexes, that there are two sexes, and there always has been. Okay. And, without recognizing that there are two sexes, you put more vulnerable people, the most vulnerable people at risk, uplifting people based on inaccurate identifications. You are putting women at risk. You're uplifting these people based on their inaccurate identifications of themselves, and you're hurting women in the process. So that's something that will never be moral. But hey, at least this guy tried on CNN to, I highly doubt that Trump is going to follow you around on your day-to-day and see what you do on a day-to-day basis. I feel like he's got bigger things to do than that. All right, I'm going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Okay. You're going to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel. So yes, they are denying my request to see the investigation results. Well, that doesn't seem right. So you're making a subpoena, but he has the ability to quash your subpoena, and I guess it's up to the commission. I'll have to get with you, Chad, to see where you're at on this, but I'd imagine that the commission is going to make a decision as to whether or not you can see the investigation results, and if they upheld the subpoena to quash or uphold his motion to quash the subpoena for you to see the investigation results. That's how I'd imagine it would go. I don't know. I think that you've got it in the bag here, Chad. I really do. I mean, where they're going to rule that this was in violation of the McLean County Ethics Code. I don't see how they don't, rule in your favor and say that it is against the ethics, but I filed the quash is quash. Nice. Yeah, so I would imagine, they might uphold your quash to quash is quash, the Ethics Commission, if they're doing everything by the book. It's very clear that there was at least some sort of evidence here, this email where he admits to the occasions. Now, if they're going to lie about it, I don't know that they did this or that this didn't happen. We'll have to see what Lizzie Johnson comes up with this this Keith Hunt fellow. Now, I don't know if Keith Hunt is being paid for by taxpayer dollars. I don't believe so. I'll have to figure that out. But at the end of the day, that still doesn't, take away that you've got somebody investigate or somebody representing somebody who is got alleged ethical violations. And he has had ethical problems in the past as well. So that's not really a good look. Keith Hunt and Lizzie Johnson being represented by this individual. There's a ton of attorneys that she probably could have picked, but she went with this guy, Keith Hunt. So everything in life is not a conspiracy, Chad. Wow, I'm just looking at this email. This is what Keith had sent Chad. I took part in an investigation. I was present when my client was interviewed, so I have knowledge of our involvement in that. Of that, others. My understanding is this report is, I don't know what this is all about, but I'll have to look into it. Not everything is conspiracy, Chad. Oh man, this guy is a piece of work. This Keith Hunt, I'll tell you. That's interesting. But end of the day, like, you were suspended, dude, for ethical complaints or for fraud and client fees and things like that. So concerning client fees, at the end of the day, are you really the winner here? Probably not. Oh, Michael Butts is the guy that is the investigation, that did the investigation, the son of Randy Butts, who is part of the Vote Yes PAC. So is he a part of the PAC officially? Randy Butts? And if that's the case, Michael Butts is, and if he's the son, this is a big conflict of interest there. Yeah, it's just tough. I don't know. You're going to have an uphill battle. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens after that commission hearing today. But that's an uphill battle. If that's the case, where you've got Michael Butts doing the investigation, and Michael Butts, his dad, was part of this Vote Yes referendum PAC, that Lizzie was campaigning for, allegedly, and collecting donations for. That's a conflict of interest. And if Michael Butts had any, ethical bone in his body, he would not be the one conducting that investigation, and he would have had somebody else do it. All right, go ahead, smash that like button, share this out with your friends. We're going to be right back in just a moment. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. Yes, this is going to be a big deal this morning, 11 a.m. Apparently, that's going to be the time of the McLean County Ethics Commission. Now, this is separate of the Illinois State Board of Elections complaint. We know that Lizzie Johnson is the respondent in this McLean County Ethics. So there's a code, a McLean County Ethics Code, that says that, public officials can't be using public or can't be using public resources to do electioneering activities. So, for example, allegedly, Lizzie Johnson went around and was soliciting donations, trying to get people to donate to this PAC that was established in support of the referendum to eliminate county auditor This is all according to an email that Trevor Sierra had sent, where he apologized to the taxpayers. He apologized to the county auditor for participating in this. He ultimately received a refund, according to text messages between he and Lizzie Johnson, where he alleged that, hey, this is, or he, said, hey, this is illegal. These were obtained illegally, these donations. I would like a refund. That's essentially what the text messages said here. And then he was issued the refund. Okay, so there is a McLean County Ethics Commission hearing. Now, this is separate of the Illinois State Board of Elections complaint because it violates the Illinois State Board of Elections charter. And then there's also a line, an election code line, where, it says public officials can't use public funds to promote or oppose referendums or political candidates. Okay, so this is separate of that. This is, the question before the McLean County Commission is, was this ordinance, or was this code, the McLean County Ethics Code, violated? So that's this hearing. Now, there has been a motion to quash. So the respondent, Lizzie Johnson's lawyer, Keith Hunt, who, by the way, was suspended for a period of time due to fraud concerning client fees, which I just think is ironic. You've got somebody who was suspended due to ethical things, and he's representing somebody who is accused of ethical violations. I think that's just kind of ironic and probably not the best choice of an attorney, by the way. But he respectfully requests that the McLean County Ethics Commission quash the complainant's subpoena. So this is a subpoena that Chad Burke, the complainant, he was a former McLean County board candidate, he filed the subpoena to get the results of the investigation. Okay, so there was an investigation conducted. Now, according to Chad Burke, this was an investigation that was conducted by one Michael Butts. Okay, so I have no idea who this guy is, but apparently he's the son of Randy Butts, who I do know was part of this, PAC, or at least supportive of the vote yes for the referendum to eliminate the county auditor. Now, if Michael Butts was an ethical guy, what should have happened was that he would not have conducted that investigation, considering, Randy Butts was part of this vote yes campaign. Okay. You don't want the son of the guy who's, a part of it. You want somebody who's completely removed from the PAC that you're investigating as to whether they were collecting donations on behalf of this PAC. The right thing to have done, but it turns out Michael Butts conducted the investigation. Now, Chad has filed a motion to quash the Keith Hunt's motion to quash, his subpoena. So he says, yes, I should have the results of the investigation and what they found in this investigation, the McLean County Ethics Commission. And, I guess Michael Butts was the guy who conducted this investigation to see if, in fact, Lizzie Johnson, Cassie Taylor were going around asking for donations for this PAC that was established to remove the county auditor, to eliminate the position of county auditor. Okay, so that's all happening at 11 o'clock, I guess, today. This hearing, this is the Ethics Commission. There is an Illinois State Board of Elections hearing that has yet to happen as well. Now, there was a motion to dismiss this ethics complaint before the Ethics Commission. The Keith Hunt, he respectfully requests that the McLean County Ethics Commission delay. Now, they did delay it to today, but he also was requesting for dismissal. Now, this is interesting. The fact that these facts and complaints have been lodged with the state's attorney and the State Board of Elections renders these proceedings duplicative. Well, this is his whole reason for dismissing. No. These are different. Okay, so the state's attorney and the State Board of Election, the state's attorney, this is a criminal provision here, where they're investigating this. Where the state's attorney, this is a criminal provision in the election code, punishable by a Class B misdemeanor. So it's different than ethics. Okay, the Ethics Commission, all they're trying to figure out is if there was unethical conduct committed by Lizzie Johnson. Okay, so it's not duplicative, it's different. In the State Board of Elections, they have a charter that says that you can't do these kinds of things either. So the State Board of Elections, they have their own separate hearing. We're looking at multiple things here. There were, possibly criminal violations, and that might be what the state's attorney is looking into. That might be what the State Board of Elections looks into. If there was election interference, this code, state law election code. And those hearings are separate that of the Ethics Commission. All the McLean County Ethics Commission is supposed to do is figure out if this was unethical, okay? And there is no question as to whether she violated the law. The people who have to determine that or violated the charter of the State Board of Elections. The people who have to determine that is, of course, the state's attorney, being a law enforcement agency, and then the State Board of Elections, being that they have their own charter and how public officials should be acting in our elections. And there's, state code that the State Board of Elections, they can't enforce criminally, I guess. But yeah, those are separate. So they're not duplicative. So he's wrong there. The attorney, the Keith Hunt here, he's dismissing on the fact, or based on the fact that the complaints have been lodged in separate entities. No, we're looking at different violations here. Okay, the Ethics Commission is tasked with figuring out if she broke McLean County ethics. Okay, so and then he goes on. Indeed, in fact, Mr. Burke has lodged these baseless allegations. And not baseless, because there's evidence, not just Chad Burke bringing these accusations forward, but Trevor Sierra, who in an email laid out times, dates, when these donations happens. There's text messages. So not baseless, okay, because there's evidence, and he says same baseless accusation in 3 separate highlights a harassing nature of Burke's claims. So because he, filed with the State Board of Elections and the state's attorneys, lodged complaints with the state's attorney in the State Board of Elections, he's claiming that that's harassing. No. That's not harassing. There's different things that she violated here, not just ethics, but possibly the law. Okay, that's what we're talking about here, the election code, the state code. And the McLean County Ethics Commission, they have no ability to say whether or not Lizzie Johnson violated the law. Okay, that's not what they do. They say, okay, she violated our specific ethics according to our code. Okay, so wrong again, Keith Hunt. Sorry. It should be noted that Burke was a candidate who unsuccessfully ran against Johnston in the November 2024 election for the seat on the county board. So, the implication is that he's doing this because he lost, which is not true at all, because here's the thing, in some sort of way, I think that you could make the argument that Chad and Randy Knapp, I think that's his name. The other guy who ran for the county board district seat 5, they were both opposed to the removal of the county auditor. And when she's going out and she is, out there and saying, hey, I'm in a favor of eliminating the county auditor, indirectly that affects their campaigns. Okay, when you're collecting donations like that. So indirectly, it probably affected their campaigns. You could make an argument. Okay, so nevertheless, the McLean County State's Attorney, I'm going through the motion to dismiss right now, promptly appointed attorney Michael Butts of Bloomington Law Firm. Okay, but Michael Butts, like I said, Randy Butts, he's the son of Randy Butts, who Randy Butts is known to have been, campaigning on behalf of the elimination of the county auditor position, is an independent investigator to comprehensively investigate Sierra and Burke's allegations, as well as fundraising efforts surrounding the county auditor referendum question on the November 2024 ballot. So he's trying to argue that because there's this investigation happening through the state's attorney's office, that it's duplicative, that the McLean County Ethics Commission is hearing this as well. Okay, so the special investigator interviewed 17 witnesses and reviewed hundreds of pages of emails, text messages, campaign contribution documents, newspaper articles, blogs, and other documents. Okay, so this is what the special investigator did, Michael Butts. Okay. In anticipation of the state's attorney will be releasing this investigator's reports finding on February 13, 2025, in addition to comprehensively summarizing the information acquired during the investigation, will also make findings and recommendations regarding whether any statute or county ordinance was violated. See, that's where I don't agree with this. So the Ethics Commission, so they're waiting for this investigation, and then the Ethics Commission can take action after this investigation is released. Okay, after the results of this investigation are released. That's what he's calling for here. But look, the Ethics Commission should hold a separate hearing because the state's attorney, they're trying to figure out whether there was statute broken. Really, what should happen is the Ethics Commission should be focused on whether county or statute or county ordinances were violated. Okay, this means the law. Okay, now there is a code, which isn't the law. It's a code crafted by the McLean County Board Commission, the Ethics Commission. Hey, are we doing things ethically here in the state or in the county? Now that is separate of the law. Okay, so the investigation has nothing to do with ethics. Okay, the investigation, the special investigator that they've got, Michael Butts here, that has nothing to do with the question of ethical conduct. Okay, there's a big difference between breaking the law and breaking ethics. End of the day. All right, so sorry I went down this rabbit hole here. But it's important because this is happening today, this commission hearing, and it's important for you to know that there is a big difference between a special investigator appointed by the state's attorney, to investigate code or ordinances and statutes. This is law. Okay, county ordinances, that's county law, and state statute, any statute. They're looking into that. So there's a big difference between that and what the Ethics Commission is supposed to do is to try to figure out if Lizzie broke ethical code. Okay, there's big difference. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about Trump here. I got to take a quick break, but I want to talk about Donald Trump because Donald Trump smacked down this smug reporter and he brought receipts. And I just love how Trump does this. So we're going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Go ahead and smash that like button. There's a couple of answers that Trump gave in his speech yesterday, and he brought the receipts to take down this reporter about his questions regarding Elon Musk and DOGE. Now, there is one question that he didn't have the best answer to. Believe me, I think that he should be tough on Ukraine. I also think he should be equally tough on Russia. Equally tough, not tougher on Russia, but equally tough because Ukraine and Russia, Ukraine is not blameless in this. You'll see that, when you hear Trump's answer here regarding Ukraine and Russia, but Russia did start the war, so he should be equally as tough on Russia as he is Ukraine. So Zelensky is a nasty leader, very corrupt, but Ukraine and Russia, they both suck. Russia is not blameless in this war, and he should be tougher on Russia as well. So we're going to talk about that. His DOGE answer was much better than his Ukraine answer. And the left, they're always changing what they're attacking Elon Musk on. At first, they were talking about how there's no fraud. There's no fraud at all in the government, okay? And all of these are lies, what Elon Musk is coming out with. And he's not providing correct data or he's not providing enough data, okay? But now the left has moved that goalpost, and now they're saying that that the fraud exists, but we should do something about it. And what Elon Musk is doing about it isn't the way we should go about it, okay? And they'll scream constitutional crisis, although we're not in a constitutional crisis. So it's always changing. At first they said there's no fraud in the government. Then they said, okay, the fraud exists, but we don't like how Elon's going about reporting on the fraud. Now they're saying we're in a constitutional crisis, even though we're not in a constitutional crisis. And, I'm curious what the left is going to say next week. But Trump is sticking with the facts. Social Security fraud, where your tax dollars are going. He talks about this. And how people on Social Security rolls, like that's the best way I could, kind of picture this. People who are set to receive Social Security. Some of these people are long dead because people between the ages of 140 and 149 are on these rolls and they're set to receive taxpayer benefit of Social Security, and that's not good. Yeah, so. We're going to be right back. Smash that like button and share this out with your friends. Woo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9 The News and Talk Bloomington Normal. So I do appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning. Now, let's get to Donald Trump. Donald Trump, he was taking questions from a smug reporter. Now, I will say this. Everybody's like, I love Trump no matter what he says. I do think that this answer was a little weak. Take a listen to President Donald Trump. Here we go.
We're hearing that Russia wants to force Ukraine to hold new elections in order to sign any kind of a peace deal. Is that something that the U.S. would ever support?
Well, we have a situation where we haven't had elections in Ukraine, where we have martial law, essentially martial law in Ukraine, where the leader in Ukraine, I mean, I hate to say it, but he's down at 4% approval rating. and where a country has been blown to smithereens. You got most of the cities are laying on their sides. The buildings are collapsed. It looks like a massive demolition site. The whole, I mean, so many of the cities. I mean, they haven't done it in Kiev because I guess they don't want to shoot too many rockets in there. They've done it 20%, but they haven't done it 100%. If they wanted to do it 100%, it would probably happen very quickly. But you have cities that are absolutely decimated. And yeah, I would say that, you know, when they want a seat at the table, you could say the people have to, wouldn't the people of Ukraine have to say, like, you know, it's been a long time since we've had an election. That's not a Russia thing. That's something coming from me and coming from many other countries also.
Okay, so he says it's not a Russia thing. Now, you know, Russia and Ukraine, they both suck. I think that he needs to be tough on Russia because, after all, they, you know, kind of started this war. And I don't know, the 4% number seems a little unrealistic to me. But at the end of the day, like, Russia, they also don't hold, you know, true elections. And if this is part of the negotiations here to stop the war and to stop the fighting, where Russia says, okay, you have to hold elections, well, you got to take a look in the mirror, Russia, you know. And that's what I would have said if I was in President Donald Trump's shoes. I would have said, okay, both countries don't hold proper elections like we do here in the United States. And, you know, for Russia to demand that, you know, they should, you know, be looking in the mirror here, okay? And you should be holding elections as well. But I mean, it wasn't a terrible answer. I mean, it was just a weaker answer. I'm glad that he's tough on Ukraine. They should be holding elections. It's a corrupt country. Zelensky isn't that great of a leader, and he probably would be ousted. You know, and that's why Russia wants that. They want a leader that the Ukrainians actually want, and they believe that, you know, some Ukrainians might even elect a leader that believes that Russia should hold Ukraine. Okay, some Ukrainians, they believe that they are a part of Russia. A lot of them are Russian speaking. Okay, there's some Ukrainians that believe that, and I think Russia believes that if there were elections to be held, that there would be a better relationship between Russia and Ukraine if there was somebody other than Zelensky in there. But like I said, Russia is a dictatorship. They're authoritarian, and Donald Trump should be tough on them as well. Now, his answer about DOGE was, I believe, much better. Okay, so there is a big issue here with the left always constantly changing the narrative. At first, it was there is no fraud in the government. Now they're saying, oh, we don't like how Elon is going about exposing the fraud. He should provide more data. I wonder what their lie or their narrative is going to be next week. But here's Donald Trump bringing the receipts. This smug reporter, and he's got the receipts here about the Social Security thing, where there's people on the Social Security, I mean, I'm just going to say rolls, I guess. So people who are set to receive Social Security. Now, whether or not they actually receive the taxpayer benefit of Social Security has yet to be known. But there's people who are set to receive it, and they're long dead. Okay, and that's embarrassing. Take a listen to this.
You could call him an employee. You could call him a consultant. You could call him whatever you want. But he's a patriot. I mean, look at the kind of things I just said. Just write it down, just in case that question got asked, right? And which I'm surprised it took so long, actually. But you know what? Ukraine's a bigger deal because people are dying by the thousands a week, thousands. But look at this, from 90 to 99, Social Security, 6,054,000 people. Well, that's okay. Maybe that's possible. You know, 90 to 99, maybe it's possible. It's a lot of people, though, at that. But people that live to 100 to 109, 4,734,000. Wow, that's a lot. That means over 100 years old. They have 4 million people. I don't know too many. I know people that are doing great in their 90s, but not too many people over 100. But over 120, from 120 years old, people that are 120 years old up to 129, 3,472,000 people. Wow. You know, that can't possibly be, because the record is like, I think it's one person, a woman, lived to 127, but they have 3,472. Okay, but now we're going really in. People from 130 years old to 139-year-old, 3,936,000. Wow. I wonder if people are getting paid with all this. I mean, are these checks? And that's what we're checking right now. People from 140 years old to 149 years old, 3,542,000.
Okay, so I'm going to play the rest of that clip here next on Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. I got to take a quick break. Yeah, let's take more of a listen to this. Here we go.
140 years old and beyond. Now we're really going, because we're looking to break the record by 25 years. People from 150 years old to 159 years old, 1,345,000. These are in the, by the way, these are in the computer files. This is what they do well. They're super. I asked Elon, who are these DOGE people? He said they're super brilliant computer people and they love the country. It's simple. Wait a minute. People from 160 years old to 169 years, 121,000. So 160-year-old people. 170 to 179,000, 6,087. But now, let's go into the real numbers. From 200 to 209 years old, 879 people. From 210 years old, I haven't met any of them. And if I did, I would bless them. I would worship the ground they walk on. 210 to 219 years, 866. From 220 years old to 229 years old, 1,039. And then you have two people from 240 years old to 249 years old, one person. And there's one person that's 360 years old. That's just that. And then where's the money being spent, right? Let's go into that for just a second. $520 million for a consultant on the environment. It's called Environmental, Social, and Governance Investments in Africa, and mobilize private sector resources.
Okay, so we're back. Hold on. Wow. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. Yes. So earlier, I played this clip of Donald Trump where he's exposing this. He brought the receipts for the smug reporter. And, you know, it's just fan-flippantastic, these receipts that he had where he points out that 200-year-old people are getting Social Security benefits potentially. And this is the fraud that he's exposing through DOGE, through appointing Elon Musk. And then Elon Musk has a bunch of computer guys, whizzes, who are exposing this. And from a political standpoint, this is awesome for Donald Trump because over the next couple of years here, he's got to figure out a way to bring down the cost of living, to put more money into taxpayers' pockets. But for the time being, you know, it's kind of cool that Trump is exposing this through DOGE. And, you know, it's good for him politically because people are seeing this and, you know, they know that, you know, he's serious about getting more taxpayer dollars in your pocket. So there are, you know, visible results that we are seeing, and they're exposing how your tax dollars are being wasted and how your government is operating inefficiently, and that they have people on the Social Security rolls set to receive Social Security potentially benefits, your taxpayer dollars, who don't even live or aren't even alive. So I'd imagine what's going to wind up happening next is the left is going to say, oh, actually, this is a good thing. And I'm already hearing this. The experts are saying, actually, no, this is a good thing that they are fraudulently collecting benefits. Look at these Social Security numbers from dead people, okay? And they're probably being used fraudulently to collect benefits. These Social Security numbers from dead people are 200 years old, which is impossible. They're dead, okay? The experts are already coming out and saying, well, actually, it's kind of a good thing that we have these Social Security numbers because we can give them to illegal immigrants who use them to commit identity theft, and then they can pay taxes, okay? So this is actually a good thing that we have all of this bloat on our Social Security rolls. Like, that's what the experts are going to be saying. And then you're going to have the public. They're going to be like, whoa, wait a second. Wait, what? You're saying this is a good thing that we have? So at first they denied the fraud. Okay. And this is what happens with the left. They moved the goalpost. They denied the fraud. Then they said that they didn't like how Elon Musk was going about exposing the fraud and that he wasn't providing enough data or enough information about the fraud. Now, because he's got all the data and he shows that this is in the computer system in Social Security, now they're going to say, actually, it's a good thing, this fraud, because actually we're helping the immigrant community obtain Social Security numbers so they can pay taxes. Don't you want immigrants to pay taxes? And that's what the left is going to say. One of these days, Trump's opponents, they're going to realize that the more that they go after Donald Trump and his success, the more they overreact to Trump's success, the worse it is for them. Okay, so I wish they would just shut up, Trump's opponents, because he's doing what the American people want him to do, which is expose corruption and expose fraud. And then he's got a couple of years here where I think he's going to put more money back into taxpayers' pockets. He's already kind of talked about possibly doing checks where he's just going to write direct checks from the money saved that DOGE is saving. So he's going to write checks back to you. And I think that's awesome because, yeah, rightfully that money is ours. For years now, they've been wasting it. And with the savings, I deserve that as a taxpayer. But I would just rather they get rid of the IRS. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, no, Donald Trump, he is going to lower this cost of living and put taxpayer money or put money back into taxpayers' pockets. But in the meantime, this exposing of where our taxpayer dollars is being wasted on, that is a good thing politically for Donald Trump. You guys have a blessed day. Bye-bye. I love you. We'll talk again tomorrow.